I'm a fan of fantasy, so I listen to Easy and Alan on their Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. During the show, you can live chat with Easy and Alan at lennymelnickfantasysports.com. Rumour has it, Lenny only swings one way, with Launch Angle. Now here's Easy and Chris Allen.
And welcome.
Now here's Easy and Chris Allen.
Chris, I have not learned to pause the other shows. One of these days I'm going to learn.
I know, but it's not today, and that's okay.
That's right. Right. Because you know why? Well, first of all, welcome to another Wednesday night at 10 o'clock. Lenny Melnick, afantasyfan.sportscast, a Fantasy Fan Sportscast, just one of the multiple shows on the Legend Sports Network. How's that? That's almost sound professional.
Yes.
If I hadn't screwed up to begin with.
Well, yeah, I mean, you were like most of the way there.
So, yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm still tinkering, and you know that. I'm still tinkering with equipment and software.
Forever tinkering.
Well, we're close. The last few shows, I've had issues with things, blah, blah, blah. But now I think tonight is it. Tonight I will know that we've probably hit the high standard that we've always been meant to hit. And maybe never surpass. I don't know. So we will see. But thanks for everyone coming out and joining us tonight, where we're going to be talking some fantasy sports, some football probably, maybe some bracketology. I don't know what your bracket skills are at this point.
Oof, yeah.
We might go there. But welcome again, Mr. Chris Allen.
How are we doing tonight, everybody? I'm glad to sit down and talk with you as always, Mark. And while there isn't as much fireworks in the NFL as there was last week, I still think there's a bit of sports we need to talk about.
Maybe not as much, but there definitely were fireworks.
Oh, sure.
And we'll get into some of that. I mean, come on. I mean, we do have to talk, Johnny Manziel, is signed
his 15th
AAF team. Or whatever, I don't know. Is it AAF, AFF? I've yet to watch.
AAF.
I think
American Alliance.
I think I turned it on once, and then flipped past it. I mean, I'm not even sure watching it I could even say I've done. Have you watched any of it?
Oh yeah, I've sat down to watch a couple of games, and I think from a theoretical standpoint, I think it's a good product. I think the rules and the type of plays and sequences that they're trying to adopt in that league, I think are a blueprint for what somewhat of a blueprint of what the NFL should incorporate. But it's just that the players are just so bad. I mean, these are NFL cast-offs, right? The cast-offs. They're like the Trent Richardsons, the Zach Mettenbergs.
Right. I mean, I know some of the names because I've paid that, some attention, but it doesn't interest me at all. I mean, there's, me, I watch everything. There's so many other sports on where I can watch the best in the world. I don't need to watch something that's mediocre. And I mean, like the NBA has the C League now, which that's even a little different. That's some cast-offs and some college kids that hope to play and some drafted kids that have been put there. I mean, it's probably, I would say probably a tier above what this is as far as, what the NBA is hoping, I mean, because some of these kids probably will be in the NFL. I'm not sure. Is the AAF, is there a shot at, to say none of them would get in would be probably long, but I can't imagine this is something where you're going to see big numbers playing in the NFL, right?
No, I think there have been a couple players just from perusing and talking with some of the, I guess, the bigger tier analysts that really follow it, because the guys over at 4for4, they're actually doing a weekly recap of some of the AAF stuff. I know Evan Silva from Roto World, the Godfather himself, I know he's been pretty big at following AAF. And there have been some flashes of specific players that have seemed to have, I think, they're way above the talent level for the AAF. So there's a chance that there are some that could get brought over to the NFL, but that's going to be more of a rare occurrence than anything else.
I'm sorry. I just I love when the chat room makes you laugh, right?
Of course.
When I'm in the chat room, I've even said sometimes I'm a in the chat room during the day. I can be a podcast killer because I'll start,
you'll derail any conversation.
And then every once in a while I'll hear the guy chuckle and but you know me, because I bring nothing to the table but smart assness and fantasy, questions. That's it. I have fantasy questions. But Andrea was having issues this morning or this afternoon, and I have not heard from her in a while. And she's saying she's still alive because last time I talked to her, she told me I might be the last person she's talking to there.
Oh goodness.
So Andrea, we are glad you're out there. We're glad you are with us. We're glad you've made it through. I don't know all the details, but I think Lenny was having a something and Andrea was catching some flack, I think. But we love Andrea out there. And I'm disappointed again. I don't know, the Mets 360 show I was getting into. I hope they're coming back. Okay, Andrea's saying it was a tantrum. That's a good word. And okay. I'm trying to think. I think Lenny's in the 70-ish range. I hate to put a number on it. He might still be awake. I mean, when you're 70 though, you go to bed before 9:30, but still. I'm just saying she used the word tantrum for a grown man. I love it. You have young kids. I think you could describe tantrum more what I would think would come out of your mouth more likely than from someone talking about a 72-year-old guy. You don't think tantrum.
No, right? I mean, when my kids, whenever they start, we call them meltdowns in our house. I mean, just full on meltdowns.
Meltdown, right? Tantrums.
Yeah.
My kids throw tantrums. And they did. I mean, I guess, but, yeah, she said he turned back into a 2-year-old today. So I think that's pretty funny. But we do. Men have that. I have learned at an elderly age now. I mean, I'm much closer to 60 than I am 50, So, I mean, I have less tolerance for shit. And I am now definitely my dad, because I've heard these words right out of my dad. I've earned the right to be an asshole now,
Once you've lived that long.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I've earned, dad's always said,
it's all downhill from here.
Well, it's not downhill. Dad would just say, you know what? I got nothing now. I mean, I can just truly be an asshole. So, and I love agitating. My dad taught me that. My mom is the outgoing, she's where I get my, the I don't know, cheerful is the wrong word, but I can talk to anybody about anything and blah, blah, blah. I get that from my mom. My dad was more the, he didn't talk a lot, but when he did, it was to aggravate somebody. And that part I get from him. So I have that. I'm sweet, kind, let's talk, let's have a good time. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, how can I piss this? How can I, put the knife in the, how can I twist it?
Gotta poke the bear, huh?
Yeah, I do get that poke bear thing a little bit. And hey, like I said, why get up in the morning if you're going to piss someone off that day? It's just, I don't even mean it that way. I don't like to make people mad. I like to make them, I don't even know the word, agitate enough where they know I'm kidding, but at the same time, like I said, you just a little spark in them, because you said one little smart ass comment. So, like I said, I've been called a smart ass multiple times in 3 years in that chat room. So
that sounds about right.
I accept that badge of glory.
Badge of glory. That's what you call it.
I mean, that's what it is now. I mean,
All right.
What else would you call it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess badge. I guess that does make some sense. I've never heard of that. Stated that way. I like it.
Proud of. I mean, again, I think most people that I've aggravated over the years still tolerate. The other person me and you have in common, I can't aggravate him enough. There has been times where
it's fun to aggravate him. Let's be honest.
There's been times where he wouldn't talk to me for a long time, because he holds grudges and all that. Now that's been a while, because he just said it the other day, because he has said it a few times. He only has 2 friends, and me and you were doing this show, because when I say something, he'll go, well, only other person I've talked to is Chris this week. It's either me or you.
Right.
So, and he has said there was a time where he couldn't stand me. Again, I've known him since before he was born. I have agitated him when he was a teenager and everything else. And there's been times where, I really poked that bear and a little feisty and not want to talk to me for a while. He cracks me up. But yeah, that's the thing. Most people I agitate, I don't know, still tolerate me. So I can live with that. Okay. I mean, again, not in your wheelhouse necessarily, but a big contract for a sports star, $430 million, for an athlete for 12 years is a lot of money.
Harper?
No, not
Trout.
Man, I was definitely thinking. You did say Trout. There you go.
There we go.
I figured I was just.
I follow the news.
Chris, you're letting our baseball people down. I thought maybe you'd get that one. That was big news, man. That was like the biggest sports contract ever signed.
Well, I thought Harper, he had also received a fairly large deal
Harper
as well.
Did 300 and some million. That was
like I was in the ballpark then. It wasn't completely off.
No, Trout went like over. Trout was like over like 100 million.
Yeah,
right. Trout is close to $500 million to play baseball for 12 years. $500 million.
That's just wild.
Right. Baseball isn't as broke as everyone thinks, Easy. Right. I don't know if Andrea got to listen to our show last night. We did talk about that, Andrea. So, because I don't agree. I mean, again, I brought up last night. I think football and concussions is going to bring baseball back because,
well, I think the CBA in the upcoming lockout here in the next couple of years is what's going to bring baseball back because there ain't going to be no football in about 2 years.
Well, there may not be football, but my argument is they've already proven that rich neighborhoods with well-educated people, a lot of them aren't letting their kids play football. They're letting them play baseball and soccer. Yeah. So that might, change what happens here in the future with football and all that. I mean, I don't think football is going to go anywhere either, but there are, I mean, I don't know if you're a HBO guy, there's the Real Sports Show. They had a episode here one of the last 2 months where, some of the big cities, the rich neighborhood kids, the football's almost extinct. It's not even there.
Lacrosse and water polo.
And unfortunately, it's all the sports where it requires a lot of money.
Yes.
There's the camps, the travel ball, all this. And then unfortunately in the poorer neighborhoods, football's all they got, football and basketball.
Basketball. Yeah.
And, so it's kind of it's going to be a crazy thing in the future. I don't know. I mean, in our lifetime, I'm not sure either one's going to go away, but I think you'll see some things change. And I don't know, we talked about this a little bit last night too. Wasn't something I had on our thing tonight, but I'd be curious in your opinion because you just said it about the CBA and some of this. For a long time, I was on the side, and something happened that I heard this week. I think it happened 2 weeks ago, but it's not big news with sports people. It's a media thing. But my concern was going to be the networks were going to have to change, and a lot of that big contract money that networks are going to give to the sports, to baseball and football and all that for TV contracts was going to go away because, those numbers were going down so much compared to when they signed a lot of these contracts 10 years ago and all that. But what changed my mind this week is Amazon has a bid in, and what I hear now, not just a bid, meaning this is almost a for sure thing where they're buying a very large share of the network that owns the Yankees. So the rumor is they're doing that so that the Yankees would then be something you'd watch on Amazon Prime. So you would, it's kind of, in the way the guy said it, it's kind of like pay-per-view without pay-per-view, meaning you had to pay something, and Amazon's one of the richest companies, in the world.
Oh yeah. Bezos.
So for them to throw money at sport networks, and that's the thing, Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, Netflix, they want eyeballs, they want streams, they want content. And what better content is there on a stream than a sporting event?
Sure.
So, we talked about last night. I've not done it. I struggle even on Sundays with fantasy football. I try. I know you do better with Twitter on those days. I'll see you comment here and there. I'm watching the game too much to get involved in Twitter.
Oh, I'm tweeting during the game.
I know. I watch you.
That's why I go dark during the off season, because I run my mouth too much during the season.
Right. But my point is I'm so involved in watching the game, it's harder. Now, if you combine those, meaning the only way to watch the game is on my Twitter feed or my Facebook feed, where I can't not see the comments.
Right.
I got to say, in my mind, and like you said, with the CBA and some things, I think this is a game changer. I didn't put that together that, you've already have Amazon doing Thursday night football.
Right.
You have Amazon now trying to get the most, powerful baseball network. When I say network, baseball's different. They're not like football where it's all one big contract. They're all individual contracts. So if you get, I would assume, and that was the rumor, that they probably would look to start, to get 2 or 3 networks for the teams in the big cities. Get the LAs, get a Dodgers, get a Yankees, get a Houston Astros, get the Philadelphia Phillies, and then say, hey, if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch their games. You don't have to have Fox, you don't have to have an antenna, you don't have to have anything. You just have to have Amazon Prime. Pay $120 a year, you get all this service and baseball, and Thursday night football, and I'm guessing if they bought Thursday night football, and my problem with that, I'm not even sure how that's working out with them, because on Thursday night football, you can watch it everywhere. It's still not even exclusive. Thursday night football is over the air. If you have an antenna now, it's on,
it's Monday night. That's the juggernaut. If they can get Monday night and pry that away from ESPN, because that's the one that's exclusive.
Well,
so you get one of those.
See, you knew where I was going, because this Yankees deal is all coming down because the Yankees network is owned right now by an affiliate. It's owned by a company that it's mainly owned by Disney. So it's Disney selling. It's Disney. Actually, Disney is selling the shares back to the Yankees. The Yankees then are negotiating to resell them to Amazon.
Right.
So Disney, and the other issue is Disney also now is going to have a streaming network. I don't know if you know that, having kids.
We have kids. So that's,
I don't think it's available yet. I think sometime in May, if I recall.
It's coming, because most of the kid shows that we let the boys watch on Netflix, most of those have been, going away.
So you're now going to have to start paying $9.99 a month.
We'll find new shows. We ain't paying
to watch that on. I'm just saying. But okay, you say that because right now it's just your kid shows, and you'll hook them on something else.
Yeah, exactly.
But if Disney now has Monday Night Football because they're owned by ESPN,
well, then I'll have to switch. Yeah,
they
got me.
Well, but I know the conversation, honey. We definitely need the Disney Channel for the kids. That's going to be the conversation. You're not going to say, oh, and then you go, I didn't know that Monday Night Football was on this.
It's like, what a coincidence.
Yeah, because so. I mean, we are talking, and I know it's not a thing where people in the chat room or real sports people care, but it could change how we view and who views. I think, okay, there could be some negatives here, but it's the same. Negatives would be that, technically it's going to be all pay-per-view now, which a lot of people in sports have been whispering for 10 years, that eventually every sporting event, somehow you're going to have to pay to watch it. And this would be kind of headed that direction. But to me, the other positive is young kids. Young kids like, if football is on their streams, if football's on their Twitter account, if it's an Instagram story, if it's whatever, or baseball is coming in that way, I think you have opened up an audience, that was less likely to watch it than maybe if it's in their stream. So
that's definitely true.
I think you end up with a numbers difference maybe. So I really think maybe all sports might be saved because the numbers are so much bigger. I don't think people realize how many people watch their Facebook stream or Twitter stream or whatever. It's way higher than any network TV show. Right. So to put these things on a stream like that, is a pretty big deal. So, like I said, I think it could be a game changer in the future, because I really was curious what was going to happen with TV and sports. And I think it's just going to shift to a different companies. It's not going to be on networks anymore. It's going to be on services. So,
yeah, and I think that's the general trend that I can see a lot of these networks moving towards, is that they'll wind up using streaming services so that people have more access to their to the product while still being able to comment on them using whichever streaming service or whatever. So if we're talking about, because I thought they did an experiment where they had a game on Twitter, so you could watch it through that at some point. I thought
they have right. Twitter has done some of the early Sunday football games.
Yeah, and that's interesting.
And I think Facebook did one. I think Facebook did one. I think they did one like 2 years ago. I don't think they did one last year. So I think they've all experimented with a game here or there. And then, Amazon's the one that just picked up. I mein, they did the same thing. I think Amazon did the Sunday games a couple years ago also, those 9 hammers. No, Jim, you're not a ghost. I see you out there. Right. I have the Fantrax guy on here, even though last night I said Fantrax sucked 5 times because their site, Chris, you're going to have to give me a look someday. I'm sorry, Chris. I love their drafting to a point, and I love some of those stuff. I just can't sit a lineup and figure out stuff and where to find my data. You're going to have to write a tutorial for me.
Oh, okay.
It's not ESPNable. I like that simpleness.
Well, that's because everybody's just so used to ESPN.
Exactly.
Just spend the 10 minutes to figure it out.
I mean, I love you. I love Fantrax. I love people. I read articles when you're on there. I do a few other things on there. But I for sure stayed out of baseball on there. And last year,
all the hype right now.
I did a couple football ones, but I don't know. Again, we'd have to have a talk before I would do is best balls going on right now at Fantrax?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Are you still pretty involved?
Writing content. Me personally, I'm trying to stay out of, I don't do drafts this early. I'll get invited to some drafts.
All right. So
I'll hop in there, but I would say at least until after the draft, I'm taking a break.
All right. I don't blame you.
There's too many unknowns.
And that was back to the AAF we were talking about. At 11:30, the first SIP show is done by a couple brewer guys who have a few hours off, I guess, in the afternoon, but before they're working too hard. So they do a half-hour show every day on the network, the Legend Sports Network, which is all DFS talk. And who's the Fantrax guy? He's saying you're the Fantrax guy. I'm pretty sure.
Me?
No. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jim Ross is calling you the Fantrax guy.
Me?
Oh. Yeah. But no. But right now in DFS, he's killing it in AAF.
I heard it's like the wild, wild west out there when it comes to doing DFS.
He keeps posting where he's winning money and stuff. And he's also doing preseason or spring training baseball. Which he thought he really first time he ever did it, and he thought he'd be a degenerate, but he's winning almost every night because it's a little different in pre. And I think again, I didn't get into it because I'm scared, you know what I mean? But the DFS, have you ever done preseason football DFS, which I know they have. Have you ever done that?
No, because that's still wild to me.
So I don't know if this is the same way, but in DFS baseball, the players all cost the same amount of money.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you really are trying to build the best team.
Right.
But you don't have to, you can have whatever players you want. But that's the problem in spring training baseball, especially now. Now he's a little more worried going forward because more teams are going to start playing their regular players more. So because everyone's the same price, though, you can't just pick the best players because they don't always play the whole game, So you're trying to buy players that are going to play 9 innings, not necessarily the guy, you don't necessarily want to pay for Mike Trout, even though he's the best. because Mike Trout, one, may not play, or he might only play 2 innings or 1 at bat or whatever. You want to get those guys that are, the borderline guys that are still trying for a spot or doing this, that, hey, he's going to get 4 at bats or 5 at bat. I mean, it's kind of been neat to listen to him talk about, it truly is a whole strategy of playing, spring training DFS baseball. Right. So, I think that's pretty, again, DFS scares me because I'm addictive. You know that. I mean, I'm convinced if I get the DFS, I won't play seasonal again. So I'm still keeping my.
I'm trying to cut down on my redraft stuff and put more of my time into DFS and best ball anyway. It's more fun.
Unfortunately, and I know on our network, people are making, talking about that, in football too and baseball, that DFS has taken over a lot of these sports networks because the money in advertising is coming from the DFS sites.
Yeah.
And then you have the fans like you and me. I am convinced in my mind, and someone can tell me I'm wrong, if you're going to play, and I'll throw a number, let's say 5 or more, season long competitive leagues, is a commitment in my book. That's a full-time commitment, technically. Yeah. I don't think you can mix 4, 5, 6 regular season fantasy, and I'm talking baseball, football, or even basketball. I don't think you can mix those in and be competitive and do DFS at the skill level needed to, be a winning player. That's in my mind anyway. Well, I'm not saying that's factual, because you know me, I feel there's a study that has to be done. There's time and effort that needs to be given to DFS that I'm not willing to take away from my seasonal yet. So,
well, I mean, I did. Well, this is just me personally. I mean, at least I broke even on DFS, and I was in 7 redraft leagues last season, and I was profitable in best ball.
Right, you're smarter than me. Maybe that's the problem.
I got lucky.
I got lucky. All right. Okay. If that's what you want to call it. But I would not, I get it. I have been happy in years of poker where I broke even, especially when I was learning and trying to do things. So I think that would be acceptable at first, but I quickly would want to be going, no, I need to win something. I need to flip this. I need to study harder. I need to learn how to put in, and I don't even know.
It's a weekly grind.
Well, not even that. I'm technically, even financially and willing, I don't even know how to put in 100 lineups. I mean, I've heard stories, and I've heard
lineup generator sites that'll do that for you, import, export, like all that stuff.
But it's even that. I've not taken the time to even step into that pond yet. Because I know once I know how to do it, because the same thing they've even said. I mean, I've heard that, just like poker, put in 100 lineups at 25 cents or 50 cents, whatever the smallest amount is,
once you get a HUD for poker, I mean, it's pretty much over after that, because you can log everything, look up this, look at that, look all your statistics, look at your VPIP. I mean, all that stuff.
I used to have a book around here about that thick of all my printouts and all my, I don't track anything anymore. I just got, I over-tracked it. I learned a lot at first.
Yeah.
And I'm not involved in it like I was then anyway. When you're playing 60, 70, 80 hours, I would generate reports of all kinds. I could tell you what time of day I did better. I could tell you, it was crazy.
A lot of data that you can track and pull up and then analyze and use. It's just how much time you want to put into it.
That's what I'm not willing to find out yet. I think I will eventually. I think at some point, last night, the round table, I brought in one of my football home guys, a 22-year-old. I keep calling him kid because I've known him since he was a baby. He's always wanted to do a podcast. Whenever last night there was a big draft. Our network had a big baseball draft last night. So guests that would normally have come on my show, they all were in a draft, so they couldn't come on. So I brought in, Doug Boyle was on the show. Doug Boyles was on the show. And then I had Brody on with us. And he's already that way. He can't do seasonal baseball. It bores him, but he likes DFS baseball.
Right.
But in football, it's the other way around. He struggles with the football DFS, but he loves seasonal, and
okay. I'm the opposite, but I mean, I understand.
But I think it just comes down to what you're studying or what you're wanting to learn, what you're willing to do. So, but then again, I'm listening to more. I used to ignore every DFS show. I mean, I just on Sirius, which, they have all turned into to a point, even on Lenny's network at first, I kind of, and then I listened to a few and thought, well, I get a tidbit here, on a player that's on my own team maybe or something. But, you start listening to me, I could maybe gather that. And then a couple of them are entertaining. Again, the afternoon guys talk beer at the same time. So, you get a little bit of beer talk in there, because they own a brewery. So that, I've found them entertaining. Then like I said, I might get in there. So, again, now that we've really got the start of the show off, and we're down to a half hour.
That's what we do.
Yeah, that is what we do. That's what we do. If you don't like the beginning of our show and you don't like the ending of our show, you just probably don't need to listen to our show. But we do always begin and end. That's what we're good at. We don't know what we're going to talk about at the beginning or the ending, but we do always begin and we always end.
Yeah. That's what we do.
All right. What happened at the Buckeyes Pro Day today? Anything exciting? Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, actually, I thought it was actually pretty neat. Actually, getting back to a point you were making earlier, that Ohio State they streamed theirs live while ESPN was actually covering it. So all of that stuff you could actually go
back. Where'd they stream it on?
I forget which service that they provided. It might have been through one of the bigger ones.
Did you send out a tweet link, or did I ignore you, or you just didn't send it? Or
no, I didn't send it because I didn't find it. I had
your fantasy buddy.
No, I had a busy day at work, so I wasn't even at my desk most of the day to watch it. So, but yeah,
even when I have busy days at work, I'll turn it on my phone and listen sometimes. But so I mean, do you know how anybody did? Do you know how Haskins ended up doing?
From what I understand,
I guess Bosa, and who's the wide receiver? I think those were the three big ones, right?
Bosa, Haskins.
Who's the wide receiver? I want to say Collins, but I don't think that's right.
No, I want to say Kendall. No, he's the cornerback. He's not the wide receiver. Johnny Dixon, Terry McLaurin, if I'm not mistaken, but he's not. Paris Campbell. That's the one.
Campbell, thank you. Right. I knew it had a.
So recently, my son's band was signed.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
You could hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, so remember, you couldn't hear it the last time we did video. Now you could.
Now I can. Yeah. So it's working now. Look at that.
Yeah. All right. But I was just trying to look and see names. All right. So, man, I wish I'd have known it was streamed somewhere. I would have watched it. So how did they do? I guess I'm concerned about Haskins. I personally don't believe any of them at this point are going to be fantasy relevant. If any of them are, it could be Campbell. To me, Campbell's one of those guys that late round flyer, young rookie. You cut him if it doesn't work out. If he, but I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. What did you hear? How did they do?
From what I understand, I mean, I didn't hear anything negative.
Well, pro days, right? Pro days are kind of, they're kind of like set up on a tee a little bit for these guys. I mean, they have them in their own house, and they're.
Yeah, for them, I think everything turned out okay, or at least as expected. But I think like Haskins performed okay. Campbell looked fine. I mean, all those guys looked at least as expected. But right. The one guy that I did hear actually didn't perform so well was Elijah Holyfield, running back for Georgia. So he actually at the combine he ran a 4.840. So that is outside of the threshold for any running back to actually perform well at the NFL level. You typically want them to be in like the 4.6, 4.7 is about the slowest you'd want to see them run. So he runs a 4.8 at the combine. And so everybody expected him or thought that he was going to be a round 2-ish, maybe round 3-ish type of back. I mean, that's Evander Holyfield's son.
I know who he is, and he's a powerful running back.
Powerful running back, absolutely.
But he also shared the backfield in a team that had, it was,
Sonny Michel and Nick Chubb, I mean, they were just there. I mean,
right.
With a couple of years ago. So It's not like he didn't have competition.
You know what? I guess Was he faster than at the combine, or he was slow at both?
He was slow at both. I think the times that he ran at his pro day were 4.76, 4.78, and pro days are typically adjusted because they use the stopwatches versus the lasers.
Right.
So typically they're about 0.5 of a second slower than what is indicated on the stopwatch. So really, he ran about a 4.8 again.
I know.
So he's not that fast.
Okay. But I've watched this game a long time. Doesn't mean he can't go to the NFL and be very successful. I mean, I've seen slow guys make it work. You know, if
Absolutely. There's no straight line that you can draw from his speed to how he will produce in the NFL. But you can draw a straight line from how you perform at the combine and your pro day to your draft stock. Draft stock would then impact how many reps he's given as a rookie. And then with running backs, teams are likely to move on from them quickly if they aren't producing, because running backs have a lesser lifespan than wide receivers. So that's where you can at least make the comment, or at least come up with the assumption that he's not going to perform well in the NFL.
Right. I believe it hurts his value, but I don't think he can't go on and be as successful. And, you know, I mean,
there's always the possibility.
You want to be successful and not be a superstar, not even be a name. I mean, you can go and play in the NFL for 10 years. There's running backs that do it that we probably couldn't even name, but we would go, oh, I've heard of him, you know, and you realize, okay, he's a backup. He gets the ball 10 times a game, or maybe 3 times, you know, they're out there. So
it's just less than what we expected for somebody that to be such a powerful runner.
I'm not the only one, and maybe it's because I'm old, though. I mean, there are other people also there that talk about, you know, the T-shirt and short numbers don't always tell everything, that you still have to look at tape. You know, you still have to look at what they did, and he was a top running back in college. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. So, you know, you do have to look at it and see that he is an accomplished running back in college. Because we've seen accomplished running backs in college that were super fast, had great speed, you know, maybe were Heisman Trophy quality people, and didn't do anything in the NFL. I mean, it happens both ways. So
but I think the key point to take away from at least the combine, while we as fans, as analysts, as fanalists, as some people use the term, as we don't value the combine, and as we can all rationally say that the combine, because they're not running in pads, not running against defenders, there's no real way to judge how you can say that a player that doesn't do well at the combine is not going to do well in the NFL, and we don't value it. The NFL scouts do, and the NFL owners do. So, and it directly impacts draft stock. So while it's rational for us to say it doesn't matter, it does matter to the people that are paying or wind up drafting these guys. So that's where we have to at least take some stock into it.
He will get drafted. I'll guarantee he gets drafted, though. I mean, that's all that matters.
Oh, I think he'll get drafted, but it'll just be much later than what we projected him to get drafted. So instead of going late second, early third, we're talking now fifth round, sixth round, or a priority undrafted free agent, depending on how he might slip.
Right. The other thing about and I meant to talk about it last week and forgot, and I'm going to make an effort maybe to get Wes. I'm going to see if Wes would be interested in coming on. He's got a thing coming up. Wes Martin is a kid that graduated from my hometown here, played lineman at in the Big Ten for Indiana, offensive lineman, started 4 years.
Oh, cool.
And
you play with anybody in the NFL?
No, he was at the combine. He was invited to the combine, but he had the record. I'm trying to read it because I don't want to make anything up. He repped 42 reps, which was the most of anyone at the combine this year. I don't know if that's the most ever or whatever.
That's a lot.
But yes, I'm Big Ox, Wes Martin from West Milton, not fresh, just another lift. PR's 42 reps at combine. So, you know, I wanted to give Wesley a little shout out. You know, I know I have a couple of local people that listen to us here. But here's the deal. His Indiana Pro Day, and I'll get this for next week. I'll make sure I have it. I was hoping maybe to get a hold of. I coached Wesley when he was 9 in baseball. And I coached his brother, and his brother played softball with me and all that, and all that. But he's got an organization here in town that's they adopt a dog, they're rescue dogs. They're doing stuff like that. So Wesley has he's doing a benefit where you can, sponsor his pro day reps. So you can donate $1 or $2 for every rep he does at the Indiana Pro Day. He's going to do as many as he can, and he wants as many pledges because he's trying to raise about $3,000 for his I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's something breed is the name. But the point is, he's doing it. He's trying to make an NFL team, so he's trying to do his best and all that. But at the same time, he's also taken something that he could 100% focus on himself, and I'm sure he's doing a lot of that. But he's also saying, "Hey, while I'm here, I'm also guys, pledge $1, and if I do 42 more, you owe me $42 that goes to my organization."
I like that.
So that's kind of cool. So I want to pub that a little bit. And by next week, I didn't, because I didn't think we'd be talking combine necessarily, but I'll get all that ready. And for next week at a minimum, I'll have the link up there. But I also thought it'd be nice to maybe even have Wesley on if he had a minute to.
That sounds good.
I'd like to ask a question of how he did, how he is preparing for a shot at the NFL and or how the combines went, that kind of stuff. But I'll get a link out there. I did share it on my Twitter already, but Big Wes Martin trying to become offensive lineman in the NFL and is repping for puppies. And
I like it.
And unfortunately, my daughter took one of his puppies for a week. Well, it was supposed to be for a weekend because she thought she'd adopt a second dog because she feels her dog is lonely, blah, blah, blah. As a father, I tried to tell her 2 puppies is too much,
Right.
So just don't worry. This dog will be fine. No dog has ever died of loneliness. You love it. She brings it here all the time. It's not, I don't know. She just thought she thought it would just be easier. Let the 2 dogs go play, and then I can do something else instead of having to play with them.
How that works.
No, it doesn't.
It's not like kids where if you bring in another one, they might entertain each other.
Get all the paperwork for the adoption and fill it all out and all that. Well, the last step is they bring it to your house for a weekend as a test.
Right.
And then at the end of the weekend, you either keep it or you give it back. Well, my daughter had to give it back before Friday night even got through. She didn't even make it through the weekend. I'm not going to say tear up the house. They didn't tear up the house, but she kept showing me videos. She said they would go for hours chasing each other. Rocky's never had another puppy around him, and he comes here, but my 2 dogs are 10. They don't run around but for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So no, this was Andrea's asking if it's a bulldog. No, Rocky's the bulldog. This was a mix of something. I mean, it was a similar size, but it was much, Rocky's pretty high energy for a fat bulldog. This thing, they tore up the house. Jordy said, I now had to watch both. I was babysitting 2 kids now. They were going after each other. Well, as the day went on, this dog they were testing became a little protective already and was growling at Gus and snarl. And so what became a little, became a little playful at first, eventually, there was some tension, and then my daughter was worried to hurt, she wasn't attached obviously to the new puppy yet, but at the same time, she was more worried about her dog. She's like, this isn't fair to my dog. I said, that's what I told you before you took the dog. Let Rocky be a pup. Maybe when Rocky's 3 or something, you could get another dog. But 2 10-month-old, 1-year-old puppies, I don't, it's a lot of work. But unfortunately, she had to call Wesley up, a poor kid getting ready for his pro day, and Wesley had to come pick up the dog that, cause she was afraid then to leave him at night, cause she works at night. She didn't want to leave him alone because now there's some aggression and she didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, I also told her, to be honest, that probably would have worked out also. I told her she was worrying both ways. She worried before she got the damn dog that her dog was lonely. Then she was worrying that there was too aggressive. I've said, they'd have figured it out. I would have come home
eventually
and alive. I've never heard of that. They'd have figured it out. But
yeah, it would take some time, but I think it would have worked out.
Yeah. Yes, the other dog was supposed to be Rocky's friend. Andrea, after the show, I'll post I have a video clip or a picture of them two, roughhousing. But yes, it was supposed to be, she just thought they don't have any kids, which is good. But she just thought, Rocky needed a friend. And
sure.
Yeah, right. Rocky does not need a friend. Rocky has a grandpa. I passed tennis ball with him tonight for a long time. He's fine with his grandpa, but no. So I'm gonna put a word out to Wesley and see if he'd be interested in coming on maybe and talking about combines or preparation for the NFL. And I do want to, either way, if he comes on or not, I want to make sure that we give his dog organization a little props. And hey, if someone's willing to donate a couple dollars or, hey, the kid can rep though. You can't do it thinking he's going to rep 15 or 8 like some quarterback. No, Wesley's a big boy. 42 reps. And I don't know. I think the combine, it's all the same. I mean, I think they're all lifting the same exact weight, right? I mean, it's
225
weight. So how much?
225, I thought.
225.
I think the standard is 225.
Yeah, so that's it. So I don't even know why we went that direction, but that's what we said. The other big thing, I mean, we did have a few signings. I think the Adrian Peterson 2-year contract staying in Washington is a little bit of a fantasy thing because I think I don't know. I mean, I thought maybe they'd go out and maybe sign somebody else or maybe look to draft somebody, and then obviously now I mean I would say he's probably their starter, right?
Yeah, for now, because we still don't know with Darius Geis coming back off the injury. There were concerns even during the season that while he was rehabbing, there were some additional surgeries that had to take place because there was an infection after the original surgery had to take place, similar to what Alex Smith had to go to, or at least a similar occurrence to what Alex Smith had. So you just don't know. And with the fact that the team is already looking like they are not going to perform well in 2019, why put your running back that you just sacrificed that much draft capital in a season ago and put them back into that situation? So if they can keep him, at least safe, quote unquote safe, with Adrian Peterson toting the rock for the most part of 2019, and then they can rebuild in 2020, so much the better. But at least from my standpoint, from talking to other Washington fans, Dan Snyder isn't really the, I guess, most savvy owner. So even if that plan seems to be the most logical, they might go out and do something completely different.
Right.
So who knows?
But I mean, I would not necessarily draft Adrian Peterson real early, but I mean, if he was my second or third running back, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't think it's the worst thing either. He was more than acceptable last year if you had him on your team. So
he had a few really good games that popped, and especially from the DFS standpoint, since we were talking about that earlier. I mean, he won some people weeks because nobody thought that he still had any gas left in the tank.
Right.
But I think this is from a football, even from a fantasy standpoint, we know at least or have a good idea of how that team is going to go. So you can value him appropriately because we've already seen what he can do in that offense.
Now, I also saw where I think Haskins, if I heard right, with the Buckeyes thing that I keep up with, I think Haskins has a tryout. I think that's what they call it, right? Aren't they just called tryouts now before the draft?
Yeah, they have meetings.
He has something that he's going to be doing.
Private workouts.
Right, a private workout with Washington. Again, I mean, I like Haskins. I just don't know if he's, what's going to happen in the pros. But
well, yeah, because any Ohio State quarterback hasn't really worked out.
Yeah, I know.
Terrell Pryor.
Andrea wanted to know, is it my son-in-law or what? No, my daughter. And I just see if this video plays. And it didn't. Andrea, I don't know how to post a video. I suck at this. Or it just won't play on my thing. I did a video of the two dogs, but no, my daughter and her high school sweetheart, they bought a house together. They've been together a couple of years living on their own. And, so I don't know if that's an important detail you were looking at or wanting to know, but they live alone. Unfortunately, they work different shifts. So she wanted a dog kind of as a companion / thing. So that's when they got Rocky. and now she wanted a companion for Rocky. And I'm like, when's it going to stop? You know, how many companions do you need? But, yeah, I don't know how to make that work. Sorry, Andrea. I'll get something and send you a post of the 2 damn dogs running around in circles for 20 seconds. But
you and those dogs.
But yeah. So yes, not my son-in-law, but you know, he just turned 21. Her boyfriend just turned 21, and we went and go-karted at the Scene 75. You know, I passed everybody, had the fastest lap. I'm a go-kart king. I can't help it. I am a go-kart king. Have you ever taken the kids to Scene 75 and go-karted, Chris?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Haven't been back in a couple of years, but it's such a fun place to go.
Well, your kids are older now. Now are they probably tall enough they could drive their own go-kart, maybe, right?
No, because, well, my daughter for sure, but the younger ones, we might have to have them ride with us. But yeah, we'll probably get out there again and do it.
Yeah, I mean, we had fun. I spun Mrs. Easy around. She didn't like that, but shit happens. Rubbing is racing. You know what? I can't help it. But you know, rubbing is racing. Yes, go-karts are fun. We had a good time. You know, and you know, but the other thing is Randall Cobb going to Cowboys. I like him better than Beasley. Will he be more valuable? And Beasley is now in Buffalo. I like what the Cowboys did there. So, I don't know, fantasy valued. If anything, I think it helps Cooper, and I think it helps Zeke because it's going to open that middle up. Cobb's great at going through that middle, and you gotta, you know, you're going to have linebackers following through and all that. I think it's got to help Zeke even, right?
I don't know. I guess I was wondering about that, and I was talking to a few other sharp fellows, because if we think that, because Zeke caught 77 balls last year. So now if we have Cooper, who his highest efficiency targets come out of the slot, got Randall Cobb, who also looks at some of the, I mean, that's his primary usage out of the slot. Alan Hearns has not been cut yet, but he's also there. We got Jason Witten coming back. How many targets can we really see Zeke actually getting this year? I mean, he's really not going to get to, I mean, 77 is definitely an outlier year. 30 is about his floor. So if he falls back to that 30-40 range, then is he really the number one running back? I mean, is he really that guy? Because if the receptions were what boosted his value, and we can't count on that because we've got so many guys working the short area of the field, I don't see how Zeke even comes close to what he was able to do last year. Well, I think he's still valued in the first round, but I don't see him reaching that level again.
Well, again, I think Witten's Witten to me changes nothing. First of all, in my opinion, I know he's great and all that, but I don't know. I can't imagine him being old. And I did post a picture of my grandpuppy in the website. That is Rocky today. He was exhausted from playing. He actually fell asleep on the edge of the tub. That's his head on the edge of the tub while my daughter was.
My goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's my grandpuppy. But I don't think their tight end changes much for Zeke. I think actually same thing. I think it helps. Now they're going to have to guard a tight end a little bit. I don't think he's going to see any more passes than they threw the tight end last year, but I think he's going to see more defense coverage than the tight ends did last year. 2, I don't think Cobb also is going to catch any more passes than Beasley, but I think he's going to I think defensive coordinators are going to at least do things to stop Cobb more than they were doing with Beasley. So I think both of those things are a benefit personally for Zeke. I still have Zeke number 1 in my book, to be real honest. I still have him as if I'm picking number 1, which I don't want it. I really don't this year. I think I'd much rather have the end of the draft personally. But if I'm stuck at number 1, I'm taking Zeke right now. You wouldn't?
No, not me personally. I can't do it.
You're wrong. I need to find a new host.
I have fun. Everybody, thank you for having me on.
Right. So who is if you were drafting today in a season-long league, who's your number 1 then?
Todd Gurley.
He's got injuries and he also has issues now. I mean, he has a backup that is quality. I don't know. I mean, I see that. And obviously if I got stuck with pick 2 or 3, I'd pick up a Gurley, but he has more questions to me than Zeke right now. I mean, why? His injury. He has leg issue. He has now a backup that the head coach has proven is willing to give the ball half the time. I'm sorry. I can't risk a one or a
have to have half the time. I don't think there needs to be a 50-50 split.
It wasn't the playoffs.
The playoffs.
Okay, but okay. So you're saying we can't go by the last 2 games that the Rams played, that they were given, that Gurley wasn't getting the ball. That, I mean, was it? And so it's either way. Either he wasn't injured and they trust this guy where they split it 50-50, or he was injured. And obviously that's a problem also. So, that's my point. As of today, I don't have enough information to take Gurley number 1. That's too much of a gamble.
Oh, well, I still think that Todd Gurley is a much better player than CJ Anderson. So I'd rather take the guy that scored most of the touchdowns throughout the regular season, which is what we normally play redraft in, than saying that, well, because he wasn't ready for the playoffs, which has nothing to do with the fantasy season. I'd rather just bank on the guy being ready for redraft. He has months.
The same 2 players. But you got to compare one of those 2 you just named to Zeke Elliott, who just had a really, really good year and nothing changed.
Yes, it did change, because we just talked about the fact that they added in a dynamic receiver in Amari Cooper. He hasn't been
for 4 years. He's just a little better than Beasley as far as reputation. I really don't think he's better than Beasley, except
you don't think Amari Cooper is better than Cole Beasley.
We said just added. I thought we're talking about Randall Cobb.
No, I'm talking. Well, still the offense is still adjusting to Amari Cooper.
But Amari,
they had less than a half. They had less than a half a season to integrate him into the offense, and then so now you tack on Cobb. You tack on. I mean, Hearns should be coming back at some point, so that's another pass catcher we haven't talked about. Michael Gallup is now going to be a second year when most wide receivers make their jump into the league. So that's 4 wide receivers, and we haven't even talked about Jason Witten yet.
And the Rams don't have 3 really good wide receivers.
And Todd Gurley was still able to produce, and he was able to put up over 10 touchdowns.
And Zeke was.
No, Zeke did not have. He did not have Cobb. He did not have Hearns. He did not have Cooper for most of the season.
Okay.
So nothing has changed about Todd Gurley's situation other than the fact that, yes, he does have arthritis in his knee.
Okay, is there anybody else in the mix? Let's say those are 1 and 2 in whatever order you want to put, or is there someone else you would put? Is there a third person or someone else you would put ahead of Zeke then?
Ahead of Zeke? No. They'd be the only other person that I'd put ahead of Zeke.
Those are your 2, 1 and 2. So
yeah, 1 and 2.
And I know I've been doing this a long time, and I know you a long time. I mean, so neither one's the wrong pick.
No, I don't think so. I mean, when it comes to season-long fantasy, we're looking at the regular season performance.
That's all. It's just that I'm right that he'd be number 1 and Gurley be number 2, but that's okay.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if you really want to go wild, you could look at Kamara if you really wanted to.
No, I'm not. I told you, we've had this argument a million times. I want my first round is I will, again, I've been laughed at in my first round. I need to be safe. I'm not looking for, you know what? And to me, injury and some of that stuff I look at. I mean, that's important to me. That's why I put Zeke a hair ahead, is that he was healthy at the end of the season, and he's healthy now. And by the time I draft him, he's still healthy. I just don't have to worry about that. That injury with Gurley always is a concern. So that's why I would have him flip-flop 1 and 2. Mainly just that injury, because I don't think the other stuff changed as much. Okay, I'm agreeing that stuff changed for Dallas, just not as much.
Yes.
But I also believe all those same things also are happening with Gurley. CJ Anderson is there now, and the coach has confidence in him now. You can say it doesn't matter, but it does. I mean, so
I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all. I'm saying it doesn't matter in what the workload is going to become whenever the first game is of the 2019 season. Todd Gurley is going to be carrying that ball as much as possible. They know this.
Whatever.
I mean, they can use him in specific situations as much as they want to, that CJ Anderson will be the backup, but in no way, shape, or form can I see them running into a 50-50 time split. No.
I mean, and again, I still think that would be fine, because it doesn't have to be 50-50 for him not to necessarily be worth the number 1 pick. It could be 70-30, and that would, to me, make him not be, I wouldn't want him to be number 1. Right now, Zeke is 90-10. As far as the running back. So to me, 90-10 versus 70-30 is a big difference. But we're stopping there.
Fine.
Because we got all this shit we can talk about next week because nothing's going to change. But we can't talk about the bracket stuff next week. First of all, Dayton lost last night. I know, in the NIT, which stands for
not invited,
not in tourney, but I still was rooting for Dayton. It was a hell of a game last night. I don't know if you got to watch it. So it was a good game.
Yeah.
But so that happened. But we do have. Are you a bracket? Well, first of all, Lenny Melnick, FantasySports.com, Legend Sports Network. You are listening to a Fantasy Fan Sportscast every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. I had to do that. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to sound professional. And out in the chat room, Andrea, I think, had to run. Jordan Allen, I'll just throw it out there. I feel like we should read, Jordan Allen is got classifieds out there. So I feel a public. I
saw that post.
Right. Jordan Allen is hunting fantasy baseball players. And I know
not me.
Right. Yeah. Jordan Allen, Chris would be exactly the kind of guy you would want in your league.
Take all my money.
Yes. If you, so he would be it. I am tapped right now when it. I went overboard in football last year and baseball, and too many leagues hurt my thing. I decided I'm limiting myself to five baseball leagues. But he does have a baseball league out there for anybody listening. You can go to the Lenny Melnick FantasySports.com chat room. He's got it listed in there. It's a keeper league. And I was going to ask him, I saw this earlier. It's $113. I was curious. I've been in $100 league. I hate to say I've been in one thing a little more than that, but I've never been anything that ended in a 3 or a 13. I don't know, 100. It's not $100 league. It's not $125 league. It's not even $120. It's 113. I just am curious if that means something. Is there a purpose? Does it represent? Is the league motto like 113 for life? Or
no, it could be so the league fees might be $100 for the dues for the league, and there could be, depending on the site that's being played, there could be fees attached to using that specific site. So I know MFL, my fantasy league, they have fees attached for dynasty leagues to play on their site.
Right.
Or it could also be, and this is for specific leagues.
You still wouldn't round that up to 115 and just. I'm just saying. Okay. Have you ever seen an odd number like that? Just be honest.
Yes. There's a dynasty league that I play in. There's a dynasty that I play in. The cost to get in is $53.
Okay, so that $3 is a fee thing. You're saying, and maybe that could be. I know the vaults and some of these, places where they hold your money, they take a cut, and
League Safe and other places like that, they take a cut.
Takes a cut if you transfer the money a weird way. You want to make sure.
Yeah. So that's just stuff to pay attention to, or even, some leagues, they have commissioner fees. Commissioners take a piece of the action.
My argument would still be, I would still say it's $100 league. I'm taking the fees out of that. Here's the payout. That's all. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, to make the numbers easier, the math easier for all that. Yeah.
Easy is simple.
Yes.
Wait a minute. That doesn't really sound right. He's got 10 confirmed players, looking for 2 more. So look up Jordan Allen in the chat room if you're
got it.
But again, because we scare everybody off. No one wants to be on after us. We have a few minutes left. But are you a bracket guy? Do you fill out a bracket? Do you gamble on this bracket? Do you consider it gambling, or is it just a raffle? I mean, give me your opinion on the big tourney and the bracket situation.
I would say up until about 2 years ago, I considered it to be mostly a gamble. I mean, it's still a gamble, right? It's a single elimination tournament. That's like trying to bet on who's going to be the Super Bowl winner. But now you just expanded it to a bunch of teams.
Random. It's random with some odds. I mean, odds are you're not going to pick them right.
Yeah, because I know that, I've talked to and I interact with a lot of guys that work for, do sports analytics, like the guys over at Numberfire, and they put a lot of analysis into how you construct the brackets, and then they dig into the specific teams, the chances, their chances of success and all that. So I think there's enough analysis behind it to say that you can, construct a bracket that is at least optimal. But it's still, again, single elimination tournaments, anything can happen.
I'm convinced now. I only play in one pool, and that's a home family and friends pool where we all throw in $10 and whatever. And you know what? I'm sorry. I'm convinced, and whatever is, if you picked all the favorites, you're going to be competitive at the end, because once you get out of that first round, the favorites win most of it anyway. I mean,
yeah, only like there've been upsets every year, but
the problem is the upsets you have to get right, and it's hard. You just don't know. People think they know. People guess and get it right, but it still was a guess. I mean, no one was picking Arizona to lose the first time last year where a 16 beat a 1.
Yeah.
That it's a guess. You know, and I'm just saying, with the things I've read and watched and whatever, the best odds are pick all the favorites all the way through and good luck.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because I've heard
you know, versus a monkey throwing a dart. You know, it's I mean, the odds a monkey throwing a dart could get it right. You know, so, but I'm a one bracket person. I used to be. Now that I only do this one league, only because now I just don't work I used to work at a place where there's more people, then I'd get pools. But now it's, you know, I just have the ability to get in this one pool. But even then, once I picked a bracket, I put that in all my pools. I didn't want one. I didn't want to look at 90 different pieces of paper or whatever, or look at blah, blah, blah. I just want to say, no, if this is what I think, I'm riding that out everywhere. So I just, one bracket, multiple pools. That's my philosophy. But I know there's a lot of people out there that do multiple brackets in multiple pools, and again, even in our league, you technically can put $10 in and you can put as many brackets as you want, but most of us only do one, you know, because it's a winner take all. So if you put in 4 and put in $40, you're just going to win 30 of it. It's going to be your own money coming back anyway. But I don't know. I'm just so are you in how many pools this year? 0
as of right now.
0. All right. Well, as of right now, you're running out of time.
Yes.
Because it does start tomorrow at 11:20 or something. 11.
Yeah, I forget when tip off is tomorrow morning, but yeah,
I
have to hustle.
I took Friday off. I used to take both days off, but because I work where I can have TVs and the internet now streaming, I can watch the games while I'm at work.
Yeah.
The key always now is just taking that Friday off so that I can stay up late enough on Thursday and not have to get up early Friday. So it's really not that I couldn't watch games also on Friday. It's just that I want to be able to stay up till 2 a.m. and watch those West Coast games.
Sure.
Because I enjoy the tournament, but I also see it with open eyes. It's still Duke, North Carolina, Gonzaga. It's their tournament. We can say whatever. And yes, there can be one dark horse that gets farther than we think, but I don't know. I do have fun watching this first weekend. It is hard to not be interested in that and want to watch it. So it's hard to believe you're not in one. I should have thrown you a link. You could have got in our
there were some guys at work that were talking about doing one, but then there weren't enough people to do it. And then I heard about another one the other day, but forgot to.
Do you watch the games when you can, or is it one of those things out? You know, so Thursday night, Friday night when you're off work, you do sit and watch them. I don't know. Maybe you can watch them at work too. I don't know. It's on your phone. I don't know. Some people will
I'm at the gym during lunch hour anyway, so the games are all on. I mean, throughout the day. So yeah, I'll catch the game while they're on. Yeah.
Right. All right. I mean, like I said, I enjoy it. And then, like I said, I'll flip around. And then when it gets close or there's an upset in the brewing, I'll, you get that little upset in the works, number 4 seed is down to a number 13 seed, blah, 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 come watch now. I do all that. I find it fun and entertaining, but I've also, like I said, but it is what it is. It's still a lot of randomness to sit here. People who talk to me about these brackets, and I know people in my own home league will go, man, I spent 4 hours and then I changed it again. And I did this and I did that. I'm like, I would do that with fantasy because I still think there are even, some people will say fantasy's luck too, but I disagree. I think there is some knowledge you can put into your decisions.
Yeah.
And obviously it isn't that hard to pick a 5 over a 12. But they'll go, no, this could be the one. Liberty could beat Mississippi. That could be the one upset. So that's the upset I picked. And if it happens, they will tell you that they're the smartest college guy in the whole world, even though even though they've never seen either team play, they would say, that was my hunch, man. I knew that was the one. It's like, bullshit. You got lucky. That's all.
How did you know? I guess that would always be my question. Like, how did you know that? I mean, why would you pick that game?
Yeah, and they would just say, I just had a hunch. I just knew that was the upset.
Well, that's just nonsense at that point.
The only upset I really did pick is Ohio State. I'm only because in the first round, I'm going to cheer for Ohio State. I don't want to have them, if they go farther, I didn't pick them farther, but I picked them if they win because obviously they win the first game, then everything, they're going to be playing much better teams all the way through pretty much. But, they barely got in. So they're an 11 seed, but, they're probably going to lose, but I don't want to not root for them. So that was my one upset. That was my one upset. Ohio State. The Big Ten got 8 teams in. 8 teams out of 12. That's not bad, right? 12, 14.
Yeah, that's good. And Ohio State just barely squeaked in.
I know. If they hadn't beat Indiana, they wouldn't have got in. So, obviously that makes it fun. I did watch a little bit of the games the last 2 nights, the Dayton play-in games. They were kind of, I turned it off because I was streaming. I think one's probably still on. The other thing is tomorrow at 4, we have Wright State girls. Wright State girls are on in their NCAA tournament. And what's neat is Wright State and Dayton women both got into the, Dayton girls have a pretty good team. They're actually one of the I think I'd have to look it up. I think they're like a 4 or 5 seed, something like that. Wright State got an 11 seed. That's pretty good for a school that size. I'm trying to, I'd be lying. I think they play Boulder, Colorado, but I could be wrong. Don't take me. That might have been who Dayton men played last night, but I might turn that on. It's on ESPN. ESPN has the girls games on tomorrow while the other games are actually it's on Friday at 4:00, right in the middle of the day. Wright State girls play. I've been a supporter of that program for a while, so I might even flip that on a Friday afternoon, but, hey, whatever. Local basketball never hurt nobody.
No, absolutely not.
So, all right. So that's our bracket. See, we brought a lot of bracket knowledge for everybody. We're telling you, just pick if you want. Put your $10 in, scratch off your lottery ticket, hand it into the guy who keeps track, and good luck. But I would tell him, enjoy it. It is a fun tournament to do and watch and all the games. It's just hard to beat when there's 3 and 4 games on at the same time.
Yes.
And I mean, we talked about it. Sudden death sports are the best. I mean, there's just not much better than, win and go home or, win or go home. It does put a different pressure on people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And for that, basketball is the perfect sport for that, because not that the pressure isn't there when it's a single sport like tennis or golf or boxing. To me, that's always a winner go home because you're on your own. But basketball just is 5 people, pretty much,
a small team,
smaller group. So you're a little tighter, blah, blah, blah. And I think it means more. I don't know. There's something about basketball and that one and done thing that makes it kind of entertaining. And the smaller schools have a lot of seniors, so you have experience versus the big schools like Duke and Kentucky have a lot of younger guys. Yeah, they might be better players, but they're less experienced. So it's kind of fun.
Okay.
Anything else that needed to be discussed this week? Again, I had a lot of kind of oddball football topics and
no, I think that's it.
Football's not going to change here in the next week.
Hopefully not, but no, I think covered everything.
Our Bengals still really aren't doing a whole lot. So
they released Burfict, so I thought that was a good.
I had that on here. I had that on there. I'm kind of Burfict and Brown on the same team. See, those 2 guys have hated each other for a while.
That's going to be awkward.
Now they're on the same team. That was the conversation we would have, and maybe we'll have that next week. I wrote that down because really they've had some big games over the years.
Burfict's knocked him out a couple of times.
Just a couple. Put him on his rumpus, and we'll have some Bell talk. I mean, the destruction of Pittsburgh is kind of interesting to me a little bit, just to see. And
those are always fun conversations.
Yeah, always exciting. So, Chris, thank you for being here tonight.
Always.
What do you have anything going on? Papers, Twitter account? Where can people find you?
Find me on Twitter at Chris Allen FFWX. I've been walking through a best ball series for the last 3 to 4 weeks. So I started off with looking at just the strategies, roster construction, things of that nature as a whole, looking back at 2018. From there, I went to, I think after that, I went to the running back position. Then it was wide receivers. The latest to come out was quarterbacks. So this week, I'm actually taking a break from the series itself and just looking at the free agent impact. So taking a couple from at least the big position. So
maybe when you get the whole series done, we'll just do a best ball draft live. I mean, that might be something to do. Hey,
we might be able to do that. I think that shouldn't be too much of an issue. Yeah. So I'll be looking at how at least a couple of the wide receivers. So Odell and Antonio, kind of how we saw their ADP. For Odell, his has gone up. Not like it was too low to begin with, but he was in the mid to late second. Now he's back up to where he was last season, back end of the first, something like that. Antonio is still sitting in the mid second-ish area, hasn't really moved a ton. But just moves that we've seen like that and how we can expect to value them in best ball.
All right. And again, your Twitter account,
Chris Allen, FFWX.
Yeah. And I'm just easy kill out of Fantasy Fan. Not too hard. But you can find us. Our link on Lenny Melnick's page is just afantasyfan.com. You'll see our old shows listed there. You can go there and watch us on YouTube during the show. And everything. I appreciate Lenny Melnick and Andrea, who was here for most of the show.
Right.
Me and you will be back here again next Wednesday,
always
10 o'clock. I'll be at the roundtable again another Tuesday night at 10. Lenny will be back tomorrow at 9. JJ's back now every day at not every day, Tuesday through Friday. He's not here on Mondays now, but doing his sports talk. 11:30's the first sip where they talk DFS for a half hour. That's kind of cool. And
okay.
I know we got the new website coming. There's still some other big changes coming. So, keep coming out to the network, come to the chat room and participate and
be fun.
Watch what's going on. So I thank everybody. Chris, I had a great time. I learned so much. I'm so excited. And I hate to finish the show that I'm right on Zeke Elliott, but we have plenty of months to get into that. Chris,
add that in.
Say night.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.